What's up, everybody? My name is B-Max78, aka Brand. This is episode 102 of the Dojo. Alongside Chris this evening. Chris, how you doing?
Doing all right, buddy. How about you?
Doing well, can't complain. We're gonna have a couple things to talk about tonight. We're talking about weebcon 2025, which is past weekend. Our thoughts and reaction. What we thought about the show, the convention itself. We're also going to talk about the charts from this past week 2 of the anime corner chart, and also the Reddit chart as well. So we'll have that to look forward to. And then the last thing we will talk about, we will go into the episodes, talk about the episode for the beginning after the end, and the My Hero to Be Hero X. So we'll get into that. But the first thing we want to talk about real quick, and it's kind of weird, so bear with me and Chris for this. Hi, Deon. I hope you're doing well, by the way.
Well, let's ask Deon if he's had the time and if he's had the private time to watch it, because he definitely can't watch that one in front of family.
Yeah. Have you heard the little controversy with Put Them on Talk of Me, episode 2?
Episode 2?
Uh-huh.
It was episode 3.
Well, episode 3, yes. Episode 3, sorry.
No.
Okay.
So I'm going to go talk
again and then.
Yeah. I just caught up with it, but I heard. So what they're doing that Put Them on Talk of Me, they had to censor episode 3 like they censored. This is a weird comparison because the comparison actually makes sense. High School DxD. Chris and Deon, if you remember when they censored High School DxD, they had to censor with like stickers of the characters, do certain things to where it didn't show some stuff.
It's like, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was gonna say, even though they censored it, they did one big scene I think was kind of bad. And
bro, they crossed the line that cannot be uncrossed. Like, for real.
Yes. And I think now it's going to be in a weird space. Do they keep it censored? Do they keep minor censors? Or do they do no censorship at all? And now that's going to be the issue throughout the rest of the season. I'll let you go ahead, Chris. Say your piece with this because I thought it was funny. I did think it was funny.
Look, it's one thing, like honestly, bro, like this was a full-on mess. Like, as good as the episode I think it was, it's like like I said it before, I compared it to that one scene in Gushing Over Magical Girl, and it's like you crossed the line that cannot be uncrossed. Like, honestly, if that was any other scene, it would be considered something else. Like, honestly, bro, and they didn't do much to censor Brandon. Honestly, what censor did you see? Because I didn't see too much of censor.
I heard they had censored mostly. The reason it was late, they had to censor it. Crunchyroll gets them. When Crunchyroll gets them, they get them however they are. And I'm guessing it was already censored in Japan a little bit. And then they kept it that way. But all the censors weren't put in. So most censors were just a couple other things, other areas. Nothing insane. And that was one of the censors they didn't do. Which was weird because it didn't feel like they really censored it at all. If you left that scene uncensored, but that's just me. I'm gonna ask this from this perspective, Deon. When it comes to doing more fan service content for shows, anime in general, what is that? What do you think that line is?
In the show in general?
Or just in general for fan service content, what do you think? Where do you think that line should be to where they have to censor
it? It depends on the anime.
Okay.
Like, the anime in question right now is literally a show about somebody taking off and putting on somebody else's underwear. There's no line there.
See?
But if the show is about like fighting alien zombies or something, then okay, yeah, there may be a line because people may not be attracted to the fan service right away. They may come for the story or come for the character, and then the fan service is there. Versus this being a fan serviced anime. There's nothing else here but that aspect. So there's no line for it.
So the fact that I'm telling you that there was a line that was crossed, you know, it had to have been something pretty out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out because I'm like, if there's a
It's
line crossed in this,
It, can I explain this without like going?
oh, I just seen what you're talking about.
Yeah, there you go. You upset? I have to
I
explain.
don't, I don't, I don't put that past this show.
That's the thing. I don't either. The thing is, it's funny to me because, and you brought up Gushing Rivers Matter Girls, Chris, and I'll give you it. I would give you it hand in hand across the board. Even the senior mentioning for Gushing and Magical Girls, I'll give you. But that's the thing. It's on the same levels like Gushing and Magical Girls, but it feels like this is a lot worse. And I don't know why.
only because they made the reference and then her response to it versus the scene she did is like kind of like that's why I say it's crossed the line because yeah, that's just wrong. It's something that came unexpected, and then they really went full out with it, even though for it to be somewhat censored.
Okay.
So
Okay.
But it makes sense in the storyline.
it does make sense in the storyline. Yeah, I will give it that.
That's the other problem. It makes sense in the storyline, which is
Not
even more
necessarily the imagery they chose to use, but it makes sense in the storyline.
Yes. And I'm gonna use, and Chris, I apologize for what I'm about to do because it's gonna probably go over your head a little bit. I'm gonna use a wrestling term, Deon, and you're gonna know the wrestling term I'm gonna use. For our main character, the girl main character, not our guy, she's manipulated this man. He's almost made this man go to jail a couple times. He has pretty much been blackmailed up until this point. So, is she gonna get her comeuppance? Is she gonna get her receipt for this? And if that's not the case, Deon, where's the show gonna end up story wise? Because I know our main guy character is supposed to be kind of an idiot, but ultimately he kind of figured out eventually. Wait, I'm being used, I'm being manipulated. I'm gonna fight back.
Man, that's the thing though. In the episode, he tries to get a third brain cell, but I mean, by the end of the episode, she's already got him wrapped around her finger as much as he does her.
I mean, this is a play at real life. We have
Thank
a
you.
guy who is literally, I mean, yeah, he's a little slow, but he's not slow as in intelligence. He's slow as in social awkwardness. So you take a guy like that and you put him in a situation where a fantasy is happening for him, and then you take that fantasy and you twist it. How would you react? Like you're a person who loves ice cream. Somebody puts a big bowl of ice cream in front of you and then tell you to eat it like a dog. Like, what do you do in that moment? Like,
Yeah, that's fair. That
you
is
know,
fair.
he's kind of enjoying this at the same. Like, I don't care what nobody say because he's enjoying this at the same time because he's not trying to figure a way out of it. He's just kind of going along with it.
But yes, he is going along with it. He's trying to figure it. He's not trying to figure a way out of it. But I think it's also weird because he has that. It should be the old kicking in of, and this other thing I'm gonna say, fight or flight, and that hasn't kicked in yet.
No, but that's the thing though. Like he in the episode, without giving too much away, he actually has a deep personal conflict towards the end of it, and he was wondering, like, wait a minute, like, I don't have to do this.
So he ultimately does.
But he does it
think fast
because the human thing, when it's something we want, just like Deon was saying, we're gonna do what we want, and we will make an excuse of why it was right, and that's exactly what he did.
Okay, all right.
But she calls him out on this in the episode too. She goes, "Oh, so you liked it when you weren't supposed to like it. Like you were looking when you weren't supposed to look. Now all of a sudden you get a chance 24/7 to look, touch, whatever, and you don't. Even if I want you to. And so, like, that lets me know furthermore, he's actually feeling some type of way about it. Like there's emotions based about it, not just his physical
Well,
mind.
but the thing that confuses the most to me about this show is that I can't tell if it's a romantic story or a comedy story. Like I know it's a
It's
romantic
both.
comedy, but still like like the type of romance that they're introducing can't be ignored.
It's like Deon
It's that
said.
play on Mean Girl.
Yeah, there we go.
You're
There's
getting
the
your shot at the Mean Girl. You're making her like you.
good right.
She's not supposed to like him. This isn't a "ooh, we both like each other, let's figure out how to make this work" type of love story. This is a Helga and Hey Arnold anime version.
Now that part of hell going to hate on them. Yep.
Basically, yes, it's the version of a person who hates their enemy, doesn't like the person, but ultimately does really like him, just doesn't want to say it out loud. But I think that's what they're getting to. The thing is, they're going to play it for laughs all the way through till the end. I have a hunch that's where the comedy is going to come in at, and it's going to be played for laughs up till the end. And the one thing I think will happen, and somebody mentioned this, but I also thought about it too, she's going to mess up with something where he gets in trouble and she can't fix it. Then she's going to end up having to try to fix it on her own to get out of a bad situation caused by her. I think that will come up eventually, but I don't know how they will get there. And also, I think the other part of this thing I really appreciate, I do appreciate the story. I think the story is fun. I just think if you're going to cross any more boundaries from now to the end, you're just going to have to bite the bullet with some things. And I know we're going to end up biting the bullet with a couple other scenes they do or certain plot points. I just hope they know what they're doing. That's all I'm going to say. Before we get into the weebcon recap, I'm gonna ask you both this, and I'll start off with Deon for this. Do you think this will be end of the? So we're about to the middle of the year middle year for anime, closer to the middle of the year, getting into summer soon. Do you think this will be a thing where, as we get later in the year, we'll see more shows that are going to try to take those risks like that and do well? And if they do well, do you think it's going to start being the norm of this type of show, fan servicing, more of that adult type content?
Wait, what?
So, do you think we'll get more shows like this where they're going to take more risk, and if it keeps doing well?
The fact that we
Well,
have another show on High Dive that's already on the same level, and then other shows have already gotten greenlit for a season 2, we're definitely getting more. Now,
I
how
was
much
just
they're
about to
gonna
say,
push
I
the
don't,
envelope?
yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get more, like a lot more, or if we're just gonna keep consistently getting we've been consistently getting stuff like this. It's just not as easy to find as it is right now on Crunchyroll because we're not used to that being accessible on Crunchyroll. It usually goes to like Funimation or now High
Yeah.
Dive or something that you just can't find without actually looking for. But I mean, we've been getting shows like this consistently, like Sister New Devil and all this. We've been getting stuff, so
But
more is questionable.
that's what I was saying. I think that was Brandon's question was the fact that how much more would they push the envelope?
Yeah, I don't know if you can push it much more than this. I mean, you can, but at that point, you really not pushing the
Yeah,
envelope. You're creating a different genre.
that's the problem.
Or you're pushing into another genre.
Yeah. Like let's say there are animes that go way farther than this. Way
Mhm.
farther than this.
Mm-hmm.
Name one that's on Crunchyroll that way, or one or High Dive.
No, you
Anything
didn't.
that's
Y'all
on.
didn't say Crunchyroll.
Okay, so get one out of each tier then.
But Sister New Devil goes further than this.
It does. It actually does. The, the reason I'm bringing this up is because the thing that kind of boggles my mind the most about this is the fact that we got Takumi is on the main page for Crunchyroll. Unlike if you told me High School DxD was on the main page when it came out originally, cool, that makes sense. Even Gushing Out Over Magic Girls was on the main page. So it is promoted. And the funny thing is, we have the ecchi tab for that purpose, and I think ecchi more, but that kind of stuff. I just feel like eventually you're gonna have the bubble burst, and someone's gonna go too far. Then you're gonna have to back down.
But that's the thing. In Texas, it's already about to be banned. So there you go.
Yeah. You know, I just thought it was interesting. I did hear people talk about it. I thought it was something that kind of feels like we're getting to that point. But I thought also the show is good enough. It can rebound. It can be something fun. This is probably just a one-off thing, but to prove a point, to prove a story thing, like Deon said, and kind of get us rolling. Yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments about this one. This one, it's rare for us to talk about stuff like this because usually these shows aren't too over the top very often. But this was probably one time where it was kind of like, all right, this is kind of a little out there. We get to kind of see what this is about. Now let's get into our weebcon 2025 recap. I'm gonna do this in a way that's gonna be kind of simple for us. The good, the bad. I won't say the ugly. I will say the confusing. Is what I'll put it as. How am I gonna start this? Okay, I'm gonna start off with Deon for this. Deon, give me a couple good things from this weekend.
Start it again.
Give me a couple good things that you thought about weebcon that was good, really well done, interesting, that kind of stuff. If there were any. That's the other problem.
I'm trying to think, man. Cause like it was almost a crapshoot.
Ding 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 ding.
But we
Okay.
made the positive out of things. Like, of course, the people there were highly enthusiastic, highly positive. We had no a-holes. Like, it was super fun to be around everybody. You know, we got great pictures with people. People were very welcoming. They were, you know, very talkative. We talked to a lot of people this weekend. Hung out with some, but we as far as the convention itself, there was a lot to give that wasn't given.
Okay.
I'm glad we had a D&D room. You know how big I am on D&D. That was a thing. Shout out to Crimson Lions Games for being there and hosting the D&D room. Even the DM. Shout out to her. But some of the panels were okay. I feel like they filled up pretty fast, and having small rooms like that, felt like you could have did the panels at least twice a day or something like that, like depending on the host, of course. But the timing and the slots for those were just kind of all over the place. Some of the vendors, they were great. I had some great vendors. Some of the vendors I ended up talking to a long time, each one. Well, all of us kind of had some conversations with some of them for a while. They're great. What I noticed, we had a lot of original artists there,
Yes. Yes.
which you don't see as often. It is common, but it's not as often. You see all the actual artists there. Um, so I I don't know. I guess the people would be like my highlight of it.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna ask Chris the same question. Chris, I'm guessing you agree with Deon mainly for the people side of it, and he kind of gave some other thoughts as well. Is that kind of the same
Oh,
thinking for you? There's nothing really good.
okay, well, let me put it this way.
Okay.
Coming from my line of work and what I do, dealing with the people there was like a breath of fresh air. It was. There wasn't too many people trying to, be in out their lane, anybody trying to push their agenda or anything like that. It was just nice. But it was lacking.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
and that's still putting it nicely. Like Brandon, me and you have been to two Acons and one anime series, and it's like the things that I was expecting, I did not get at all.
Okay. We'll get to
I
the bad.
like, yeah.
No, continue. I didn't want to cut you off. I'll say when we get to the bad, I'm gonna explain something that I think that's gonna kind of blow both of y'all minds. But continue, Chris.
But it was just a lack of stuff. Like, I mean, some of the panels seemed lackluster, and I mean, honestly, bro, it just felt like a disappointing shopping center, like a disappointing flea market.
The flea market, bro.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh, ow,
Yes.
ow.
A
But
cosplay flea market without as many
Yes,
stalls, bro, because that was
man.
very small space.
Like honestly, Brand, I feel
It
like
felt
we
like I
need
was
to
at the
go.
Swats.
Like I need to
ah,
take you to Traders Village one time. You might find more, just as much stuff, if not more, there.
Oh,
okay,
you definitely find more. You'll have more people selling stuff. Go to
yeah,
Big T's in Dallas, bro. You'll
fair,
find more
yeah, fair. Okay, we'll get to the bad.
stuff.
We'll get to the bad now because we're getting to that point anyway. And I'll say for the good at least, I agree with both of y'all on that. The people, good. That's indefinite. Like I think that's the one thing we've noticed, even from the Houston side, coming back to town, coming back to the Dallas Fort Worth area, coming to urban. The people very friendly, very easygoing, very welcoming. That was one thing. I'll start off with the bad, and it's something that I felt like I wish there was, but I know it's going to go slowly away. I feel like, and this is on the exhibit side. This is on the theater hall side of it. This is probably the first time I didn't see no manga and no DVDs. This is probably the only time I've never seen neither one in the same at all. At least you usually get one or two, one or the other, not neither. It it felt like that was kind of a miss, and I don't know why it's a miss because there's actually a big store around here that still does comic book stuff and stuff. I remember we went to Acon. I think Chris remembers the store I'm talking about, where they had like two giant rows of all their DVDs. Um,
Man,
and it's a husband and wife team. They've been doing the store for years with a couple other helpers and things. So they remember because I bought that's where I bought the Definitely Cry DVD, the one I have now. And a couple of I think it's one of them. But it just that felt so odd to me. But not in a not in a bad way, but it was just like wonder if we're gonna slowly see the decline of physical not DVD. The more the physical DVDs, not books, because books are kind of in that weird space. The other thing that kind of annoyed me, and y'all both touched on it, the panel side. The panel side was a little,
lackluster. Didn't
yeah,
fall through.
yeah,
Missing.
yeah. But I also feel like one thing with Irving, I don't agree with. The Irving Convention is so weird in the sense where that middle floor, third floor three, has always been the panel stuff because the rooms are in there. But like I mean, me and Chris did it 1 year for Acon, and they use the rooms pretty well for the panel stuff, but they are kind of tiny. They're small. They're not that big. They're very compact. They're more like classrooms. outside of that, I think the other thing is just Friday. Friday was so odd to me. And Friday wasn't odd in the sense like bad. It was Friday was just like that long line. We spent almost 2.5 hours in Friday afternoon, which can't really blame them, people, all that kind of stuff. But that took forever. Um, Chris, go ahead with your bad, and then I'll let Deon go. Then I'll the other thing I think was that's gonna change.
Okay, my bad, bro. What convention doesn't have any anime, any manga, any DVDs? Holy snaps, bro. Like any kind of the only collectors, anything they had were the pop figures, bro. And then don't even get me started on the lack of just everything. Your main biggest source were the people who had their acrylic pictures. Like, bro, they were set up on literally the every corner of the freaking place. If that's all you're gonna sell, then I'm good. Those things are already expensive anyway. How and then I don't even know what they sold in between because it was nothing that caught my eye except for the Pokemon globes and the Jedi lightsabers. Other than that, since those were the best products, those are the first products gone. By the time we were ready to buy the stuff, they were gone. Like, bruh, it was like, and
I,
then, oh no, no, I'm
I,
not done. No, no, no,
okay. No, I
bruh.
know. I figured you
Because
weren't.
Artist
I,
Alley, bruh, Artist Alley was the highlight. All of the original content they had, now that should have been downstairs. That should have been intermingled with all the other stuff. But why, for heaven's sake, they didn't do it, I don't know. And then they had panels, knowing people were wanting going to fill these panels up the most because of what they were going to talk about. You had those in literally the smallest rooms they had there. Like, bruh, come on now. And I mean, if and I was happy, just like Deon was about the D&D, but it was like since that was a highlight, I swear to God, that lady should have had like this interactive movie table. Like she should like. I really wish they would have given her more to set up because that was cool. If D&D was a highlight of this con, that means they need to step this up. I don't know what else to say about that. I'm done.
before I get to Dion, I'm gonna say this. I'll give you mentioned Pokemon gloves. You mentioned lightsabers. I also have to give one other shout out. You didn't mention it, but I mentioned it myself. I did buy one of the Juggernaut things, which is handmade. That was really cool, and I actually haven't actually put it on my desk yet. I'm gonna probably do that this weekend. But that was really cool. So I appreciate there were those kind of like handmade items. I will also agree there's a lot of posters, and usually I'm not a poster person because one, I'm just facing my room for them, and two, it just doesn't. It's not my thing very often. Or pictures of that kind of stuff. Dion, go with your bad, and then I'll kind of give my point about something.
Well, I'll say something good that I forgot to mention first. Um, there was a lot of handmade
Yeah.
artists there.
Yep.
What's bad about that though is 90% of the handmade artists made the same type of stuff. So I want to say that first because I love handmade artists. I give everybody their credit. I'm glad, that they were there. But it leads into the con not spreading out everybody in a fashionable way. Like, yeah, okay, if you got people selling the same type of items, even if you can't diversify your vendors enough, then the least you need to do is spread them out so that way they're not sitting right across from their competition, which is crazy. You go from one guy selling wallets, you turn the corner, and right there is another guy selling wallets, and then right next to him is another guy selling wallets, and every guy in between is selling metal plates. Like,
I
it's
actually,
it's kind of
as you're saying that right now, it clicked in my brain as I'm looking at if I'm thinking about the layout. Sunday was the way I know, and it's Sunday when I noticed it. Me and you walked around, which is funny because I didn't notice it Friday or Saturday because we were just talking, kind of hanging out, people do their thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sunday I really noticed
See?
stuff. I was like, wait, there's a wallet guy there. Then we turned the corner, about a stall down, there's another one. There were there was the wall posters on one. We walked about 2 feet. I was like, wait, was that poor planning, or was that
And
just coincidence?
and you
I didn't
can't say you couldn't versify or
diversify.
you couldn't
Yeah,
because just flop them out with the other section that's selling keychains and hats and shirts that are right next to each other. And then there's
but
a
They
section of sword guys right next to each other.
that was the other one
Like,
I noticed. The sword guys, and that was the one I really noticed. I was like, wait, did they put the two people that are like swords right next to each other? I'm thinking that doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? And then thinking, wait, they did this whole backwards. I was just kind of like, okay, y'all need to figure that out.
honestly, bro, like they would have done better at the freaking gun show.
yeah.
Like
And
Yeah,
they
I
do
get it though. I get it though. On one hand, it's like, all right, put everything together close like art style, put everything together close like crafts, put everything together like,
props.
memorabilia, put everything together, props.
Yeah,
So I get that aspect of it, but it's also like you with as little space as you have, you want to kind of make your con feel bigger, you know? And I
but I
don't
feel
feel
like they
like
did
they
the
did.
opposite. They did
Yeah,
the daggone opposite.
it felt like you walked through and then in 2 seconds you were done with the entire con.
yeah,
Like, and I didn't like that feeling, especially being there for as long as we were. I wanna feel like I haven't seen everything yet. Like, when we were at Matsuri, I had to keep going back just to be like, "Oh, man, did I make it to this part yet? Did we see
Yep.
yeah.
this thing that day?"
But
You know?
but that's also the difference, and that's the thing that I was going to mention. There's two things I want to mention, but this is one of the big ones. That's also the difference with different types of conventions, because you forget George R. R. Martin was huge. He covered almost a block, and it covered almost a city block, in the sense of like it took us 15 minutes
I
to
get
go
that.
from one end to the other. So
I get that,
yeah,
B, but we had 4 floors to use.
and
Yep.
that's the other thing I was going to bring up.
Nothing,
That's
nothing was on the 2nd floor.
No, except the cafe, and that was it. And the thing was, I was going to mention this. It was funny. I thought it was so funny. And Deon, I thank you so much for dealing with me on Sunday, because I was going to keep going back and see if I could get this. I could.
No, yeah.
Let me explain something, ladies and gentlemen. I follow a VTuber and a voice actor who does really good work. He's in Kaiju number 8 as Kaiju number 9. He does the stuff. He's a Maxis or for To Be Hero X. He's done other things in Genshin. A
Just
lot of
Genshin,
stuff.
yeah.
A lot of stuff. And I wanted to get his autograph from one of his things, because I was like, I do want to get this. He lives in the era. I know he's here. I'll try to get this. Every time I
So
went up,
Alejandro, if you hear this, shout out shout out an autograph from my boy Brandon.
all
Real
of
talk, man. Come on.
every time I went up, there was a line, which is not a bad thing. I get that. I knew that was going to happen. And I felt bad because he even said, I watched the stream today of the person I got to talk to. And he even said it was so annoying because for them, he never really left his table outside of going to get lunch or something. And he wanted to like see Ari and the rest of them because he knows them. They said it was so messy to get up back to the 4th floor. It took to get through the escalator side, which I didn't know this. The escalator's broke like 3 times. I noticed it. When y'all in D&D, I walked around and I noticed the escalator had broke like twice. It took almost an hour to get from the 1st floor to the 4th through the escalator. I was like, when he said that, I'm like, that's kind of insane. I'm thinking, that's a lot of people. But also, that also tells me the way you spread things out didn't really work very well. Here's the thing I would have changed, and I'm sorry to cut you off, dude. I do apologize. I do. You should have done the thing that I would have rather you had it done. Not moved all the voice actors, but move the ones that have like Twitch presences all to the bottom.
No,
Or some kind of
I swore I was thinking that if you move the vendors to the 4th floor, third and fourth floor. You got Artist Alley, you got the vendors, third and fourth floor, and put all the voice actors and tubers downstairs in the first floor. Everything else on the fourth. That floor was so big and pretty and had so much space that it would have made a great vendor venue.
And I feel
And the
like
first floor had enough space to get all the voice actors in. If you would have swapped that, it would have made so much more sense. It would have been so much smoother. Everybody could go straight through the first floor. You got enough room for all the lines, and then go through second and third floor for your rooms, and then fourth floor, everybody go and buy shit. And you're good.
so I'm not alone in this situation. I'm not alone when I thought about that after the fact. And then the other thing that kind of confused, that was more not bad, but a very nice gesture from most people, which I appreciated, but also confusing. And it was funny because I didn't think I was gonna get many comments about this. And y'all both were around when I got these. Everybody was like, "I love your mask." I'm like, say what now? And not in a bad way. I'm not saying I didn't say that out loud. I mostly said thank you. But I'm like, I'm getting too many comments about this mask that either is telling me, one, the mask is very good, which it is. It's from I am. I bought it when we went to that rave. But two, my other thing was that also tells me if they had masks there, people could have bought them and it actually would have done a good thing for them. So it goes back to the first point of like you didn't have enough vendors. But I digress. I feel like that's just partially a good thing for like good because I had a cool looking thing, but bad because it's not available. And it's funny because the other thing too, I thought this was interesting. I don't know. I think a couple people called out my sword because they thought it was really cool. And I'm like, man, I bought this sword in AX, an AM. But the funny part was, and Deon might notice this. I don't know if Chris noticed it. Deon, do you remember we walked past the sword things? Did you see mini wooden swords?
Yeah, they had a couple.
But not like
They were few and far in between, but they had a couple.
Okay. But not like that one vendor we went to for AM where they had metal, a bunch of wood.
Nowhere near that.
Okay, that's the thing I was going to point out.
Nowhere near that. That guy had so much stuff. I mean, he had everything. He had gauntlets. He had kunai. He had everything. You want it, he had it. He had the Sword of Omens from Thundercats. Like he had everything.
Yeah.
But that's also too. You also have to look at with vendors where they are and if they're willing to travel and if they're willing to be. That just to me means that out in that area or at least close to that area, we don't have enough vendors. Now, I did see some of the same vendors that I seen in AM, but those are the people that I talked to already that were local. They traveled to Houston for that. Now, here, I'm talking to a lot of vendors, being a person that has done markets and stuff like that. So I have a communication with them. They're mostly local people that set up shops. We don't have that much stuff out here, I'm guessing. Or we didn't find it well enough. Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't know we had as many as we did see.
We have a good amount, but they're all spread out across the year. I think that's the one that's the issue. And Chris, I'm sorry we're kind of taking out the conversation for a bit.
No, you good because I'm agreeing with everything y'all saying. Yep.
Okay. Okay. And now let's jump to the confusing. Before I get to the confusing gonna have the little talk I want to have about this because I think it's very interesting. Like I said before, I'm gonna make you feel bad, you too, because I feel like this is gonna be confused. It's gonna rack your brain. The one thing I noticed, and the one thing that confused me the most, Friday. What on earth compelled them to have everybody funnel to the same place Friday afternoon to try to get a badge? Ended up, it was fine because everybody was very friendly, having a good time. It was interesting. The flip side of that coin, though, if you really wanted to do anything Friday afternoon when the floor opened at 2, you kind of wanted to you had to kind of stay there like we did and did a couple rounds and then left because we had to go to a hotel and stuff like that. I'm not advocating for this because I don't think it's going to happen because I know Acon's 4 days. AM was 4 days. AM was 4 days, technically. I have to believe weebcon need to go to 4 days. Not in the sense of like actual 4 days, in the sense
But
of
that first day being a setup day.
a day 0. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, you need a day 0 to have people given the opportunity to get their badge, kind of get things set up with their hotel, and then start off Friday morning. Because the one
Like,
thing
have
being
some type of way where you can check in online, like prop checks and bag checks, cool. But being able to like check in with your badge online, that way you don't have to stand in the same line as everybody with props and bags, like they did the second and third day.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing was, and Chris remembers this. Do you remember when we went to I think it was AM, but Acon also did it. They mailed you your badge.
Yes, sir. I was about just thinking that.
Acon mailed it to you. Also, I do understand if you try to mail something like that, mailing costs and shipping costs and all that would be expensive for like that. People, I get
And
it.
as much as they making up these cons, they can ship something.
Thank you.
Yes, you're not wrong. You ain't wrong. I'm trying
like,
to be respectful.
They didn't have that many people there in order, so they didn't pay out on a lot of money. They didn't.
No.
Or give me the option to.
Yeah.
Give me the
Okay.
option. Let me choose whether or not I want to pay an extra $10 to get it shipped to me or not, and avoid the mess of waiting in the line or something like that. You give me the options of VIP and DLC and all of this stuff.
You do. And then the other thing that kind of confused me, and it was something I didn't, and I think y'all both will agree with this. The other thing that kind of confused me, and I noticed it when I was by myself, and I didn't really notice it till I was by myself. I noticed it a couple different times. Luckily, when y'all were with me, we were cool because Lady did it for us up the elevator the first time. Well, then I was by myself, and then these 2 other girls in the elevator with me, and this other gentleman who was dressed as. He was dressed as the girl from the guy that stays in the video game, and he's dressed as the main character from the video game, like the big suit. But we were having this conversation with the guy down below who come in the elevator, and each of the girls who were in front of me had 88 things. Well, then they both had handlers, but the rule was each only one could have a handler, which was funny. I'm like, that's kind of really weird that you did that, and then eventually he let them go on. We went up. Not all the staff wasn't snappy, but it felt like, and I think this happened to Acon, Chris. I don't know if you remember this. They get overwhelmed by that many people in the same place. Unlike when we went to AM, that problem never really occurred. Partially the space, but partially, I think because you kind of knew what was how they could handle it. Tell me if I'm wrong, Chris.
I don't. Well, Acon was one thing because we went to that same convention center twice with them, and it seemed to be more like, I don't know. Maybe they had more vendors, but they were just better. Like like, to me, they had more food trucks there. They had more vendors there, even though it was still a cramped space, but they made it work. And then they had all their classes. They split, and they had classes everywhere all throughout the day. So if you just missed them, like, they were more organized with their rooms and everything. And finally, instead of having one area for games, they used the entire 4th floor for games, and they were everywhere, including the game tournament. Brandy, you remember that? And that was huge.
Yeah.
And I mean, that place was packed of everybody playing games. Sure, it could have been utilized just to have other vendors there, but still, it was just a better use of space. And then
Yeah,
they even utilize the space for outdoor activities better.
They
You about to
did.
say,
Yeah, go.
I was just gonna say they did a horrible job with making sure everybody could experience everything because of how spread out everything was. Like the games was in a hotel, nobody even knew they could go in.
Oh no, I knew I could go in, but I was never gonna have time because I ultimately.
No, bro, I talked to so many people
Oh, they
and asked
did.
them like, "Hey, did y'all, you're this character? Did you check out the arcade? What arcade? Yo, you know what I'm saying? Hey, you said you da 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 da. Let's go play at such where? How do you can go in there? I thought you had to have a room there to go there. I thought you oh it's behind. Oh, we
Yeah,
never even seen it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like, bro, what?
yeah.
Like, yeah, I know it says it on the website and all this stuff, but it's not clear verbiage. So we don't have signs, we don't have clear verbiage, we don't have promotion of it. Like, it's crazy. And then on top of it, have all the space that you can utilize outside that you did nothing with. Granted, it was supposed to possibly rain that weekend, and it did sprinkle a little bit, but there was nothing there to even say that you would have utilized it. Like, there was so much patio space that you could have utilized. There was so much floor. I mean, even if you just had everything confined within the 4 floors, you didn't even utilize that space appropriately.
No, because the funny thing about the 4-4, which I also thought was kind of funny and weird, and I don't mind this. I get why you did it. It's the way it's spread out up there. I didn't mind all the actors against the wall, so it made it easier to find them. But the funny part was about that. Then that whole middle part of that floor is just empty. Outside the statue I showed you, and the little and Biru's statue I showed you, Deon. And the thing was, I'm like, I like that statues are in the middle, kind of cool because the voice actor for Jin Woo was there. But I was also like, if you could have maybe like, I don't know, it felt like you had the issue of having the space but didn't know what to do with it. Having the wherewithal to kind of look at the space you have, kind of figure in a way where it makes more sense. Now I'm gonna get to make these gentlemen old for a second. I do apologize for that. Here's the thing, you two, and I thought about this later because I sat down and I came home for that Sunday. I kind of sat down and just kind of watched racing, kind of played and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of thought back. First of all, I'll say this right off the top of my head, top off the bat. I'm so happy I got to meet Ari. It was one of the cool experiences I've ever gotten. She's a sweet person, love her to death. I feel bad I get to be vexed. That was not well handled, but that's a whole different story because it wasn't well explained. I can't blame them. I can't blame her for that. I can't really blame Game Judge for that either, but things weren't well explained for that. But if you looked at the list for how many features were going to be there across the board, it was over like 30. I think it was right at 30. So I feel like weebcon is more geared towards somebody like me, in the sense that I knew Fifi was going to be there. I knew Vex was going to be there. I've watched both of them. I knew Ariel was going to be there. Watched her. It's gonna get to a point, and gentlemen, you love anime. I do know that. I agree with you. I do too. But I'm gonna put this out there. And this is where the confusing and kind of bad kind of goes together. I think eventually anime is not gonna be the draw anymore. And I'll repeat that again. I don't think anime is gonna be the draw anymore. I think a lot of your draw is gonna be the VTubers, the voice actors, which is not a bad thing. But I also feel like if that's the draw, I think you're gonna start losing the older um, crowd. And I think that older crowds are going to start feeling they have something to not go for anymore. It's it's a slippery slope. I know it's kind of for me. That sounds kind of weird, but I think it's funny. And Chris, I'll ask you this first. Did you notice something about this con? I don't know if you caught it really quickly. I did. Did you notice that? Did you notice that most of the people at the con were younger?
I did notice it was a normally large amount of younger crowds, and I was kind of annoyed by it at first, so I do admit it.
Okay. Deon, did you notice the same thing? A lot of the crowd was younger.
Oh, I will say this: there was a lot of younger people there, but I honestly thought it was fairly mixed.
Okay. Okay.
Anybody I personally spoke to, half of them were older than me.
Yeah. We kind of
You know, I feel like the younger people just kind of stand out more because of their energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they're bouncing around there like speed racer. But the older people were the in show, and the age appropriate people were there. That went to show during the night festivities.
Yes.
When there was just as many people there as it was during the daytime.
Yeah.
You know, and granted, that's still just 18 plus stuff, but
Yeah.
you know, when you get into things like that, it's kind of easy to say yes. Everybody was young. You got to remember, people still think we're young.
They
So,
do, which is I'm grateful for. I'll give them credit. I'm grateful for. I don't,
so we gotta kind of keep in mind that
yeah.
some of them cats probably weren't as young as we thought they were. But what I will say, there was a lot of young energy in that building. I'm not mad at it. I love it. Keep the world of anime strong. But it would have been nice to actually been able to identify some age groups. It's like at AM we had like wristbands that said age appropriate.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm. We did. We did. I don't. When you disconnected, I don't know if you heard my first part of this when I said that. I think the I don't know if you heard the first part when I said the more the appeal of this con was for the VTubing side because there were so many of them. And
Oh yeah, I
like
hung up on you.
yeah, I thought you did. I thought you did. But I'm not saying that in a bad way. I say that as a person who shouldn't think. I like. I'm sad to think that way. But I also notice it really quickly because I was like, wait, did they? I know they weren't trying to, but they ended up did. So I'm like, was that the most big appeal thing? That and the voice actors. Those are the two big appeal things, and then like everything else is kind of for like a afterthought, back burner kind of stuff. Uh,
I'm inclined to agree but disagree with you
okay, go ahead.
only because there was a lot of anime voice actors there that I
Yes.
would have loved to have seen, but I didn't go see because those lines were stupid long.
Stupid, atrocious. Yeah.
I mean, stupid. I mean, even on the first floor, like I would have loved to been able to see Robbie Damon, man. Like that's one of my guys. But man, we couldn't even get into that corner. They had him
Of
stuffed
course,
in a corner on the first floor like a nobody, bro. We couldn't even get
that
to
that quarter
it.
was that quarter was bad. That alley, basically that line of things from the one booth for the voice actors to the other for gamer stuff, Novel Horizon stuff, and then going around that corner. It was basically like walking through much of nothing until you got to the points where you're like, wait, this seems kind of crowded over here. Why? And that was why. Um,
I agree with everything, bro, because I like Randy. Even that one thing you told me about that the girl was only there for like an hour and only 30 people could see her.
Vex.
Like, bruh, that was kind of like I understand it from her point of view
what?
more than
But
I do
see,
with the con.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. And it's funny. Gaming Star posted her. I Here's the other thing I forgot. So she was at Novel Horizons booth Friday. The problem was We didn't get in until almost 4:00 Friday. Her meeting greet for Novel Horizons was at 3. I was like, I would have
We were in
gone.
the line.
Yeah, I would
From
have gone
like
Friday. I would
1
have
to
gone
4.
Friday. Yeah, I would have gone Friday and just seen her and then been done with it. But I was like, that line took forever, so I couldn't go see her. I was just like, okay, all right, you just kind of. And the thing that bugged me about that, here's the other big issue with the way y'all did it. You ended up forcing that all the funnel through. And I get it. There's rules about bag checks, all that kind of stuff. Those rules have been in place for a long time. But you could have at least had it where if you didn't have a weapon, you could go in and then get your bag checked. If you had a weapon, you had to wait. And you had
Another
both.
thing AM did so well was anybody could come into the building.
Yes.
Anybody could go into the building. You can get in as long as you had, your ticket and stuff. But once you got a prop, then you had to go somewhere separately and get it checked. So it wasn't flood the only way in with everybody getting props checked. They had to go and isolate themselves to get checked. And the same with, bags. No, you could not get into the convention. You can get into the building, but you couldn't get into the actual rooms and stuff with your bags without getting them checked. So it was, I don't know, man. I feel like they could have done that a lot better.
And
A
on
lot
that
better.
point,
Not stuff everybody at the door like we're at an airport or a high school with metal detectors. Like this.
You're basically putting us in a can. You're basically putting us in a can of sardines and just smushing us through, which was also just annoying. And I'm just like,
right, especially with
okay.
us having to go through the dang on hot parking garage in order to
Yeah.
get into the building.
Man.
You
But it
got
was
500 doors on this building.
you didn't use like the two at the front. The two at the front you should have probably utilized and let us go out the back would have been better. Because I remember, and that's the other thing with Akon. Akon used the front doors. Me and Chris walked through. So when we
No,
walked up
but the worst experience about that, Brandon, was the fact that once you got in, you literally saw that there were empty stalls of people telling people to come here, which means they weren't even moving as fast as they could.
Yeah.
Which means
I'm gonna
like they did not have anybody directing traffic. That's what that was.
no, and I'm gonna end up on this note, and I'm gonna say this with all respect. Here's the thing. I am a person that usually enjoys almost anything I do for a convention. Pretty much. Like I said, my biggest highlight was meeting Ari, getting to talk to her, getting to see most of the getting to see a lot of other glow sticks in that's her community name, by the way. Most people don't know that. And just like getting to meet Zen from Oscar's side because they're walking around with the gold tablet thing. I walked off, y'all were in D&D. I walked around and I found them. I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen because I've seen it on stream before. I've seen it watching them do that. But the thing is, outside of those little smaller interactions, it felt like I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice.
You treat them like you treat the government that night. Go ahead and tell them how it is.
It felt like I think this is a big issue. Me and Deon talked about this in the car coming home Sunday. A lot of we talked about it breakfast Sunday, not in the car, in breakfast Sunday. I remember this. A lot of the bigger cons are losing its luster because they're getting too big for them. But these smaller cons are building up, and these smaller cons are getting a following, and their following is getting there. They've been around for a couple of years, and it's because of what they can offer, and they can offer a lot. No offense, but I think eventually you're gonna get once you get too big, you're gonna have to move again. Akon did that over the 30-year history. They moved about 15 to 16 times across the 30 years. But also, the one line that caught me off guard was when I asked, because the people in front of us, the Friday, you went to go back to the room, Deon. We were in front of these two, a girl and a guy. and another guy. And they were talking about Irving. They've been here, they've been to this convention center, and we kind of were talking offhand. And he mentioned the Gaylord was annoying. It was too big, and there's something out there. I'm like, oh, that's why they don't use the Gaylord much, because it's kind of not in a great place. But it's big enough to hold what it holds. But also, Irving has the better atmosphere of food, bars, all that stuff. But the way the convention center is built, it's not built well enough to hold what they're trying to hold. So a lot of people thought this would be better, but it ending up coming out worse.
I think it goes to unpreparedness. I feel like if they did it again and they took a seat and thought about everything they could do better. You know, hindsight is always 2020.
Correct.
I feel
Great
like
point.
the next time would be vastly better.
Okay.
Just because you think about stuff that they did fix, like the first day being as crazy as it was with the line. The next day it wasn't as bad,
Yeah, it wasn't.
you know, because they
Absolutely not.
fixed that. And the second day, as far as vendors and being able to get into the actual floor, it was horrible. Sunday, it wasn't as bad.
Chris, that
It was,
I
and
told
there
Chris,
was a lot of people there still on Sunday. I know Sunday
yes.
is usually the die day, but it was still a lot of people there. That line was still wrapped around the parking garage. But being able to go in and out, by the time we went back out to, what did we do? Oh, we were about to go up. We were about to catch the
Yeah.
elevator and go up to the fourth floor.
Uh,
There was no more line. People were already
Yeah.
in.
yeah.
You could see people, but they weren't standing in line like they was on Friday and, you know, a lot of Saturday. Whereas most people that was there were in line instead of actually enjoying the convention. Like you said, you missed a couple of the VTubers you wanted to see from standing in line. That's crazy. How do you miss half the con from standing in line, bro? This is
And
not the fair. This ain't
but okay,
That's what I'm
but I'm
talking
also
about.
going to mention this because I thought this was also funny. And we're going to get to the charts later, and we have to see episodes as well. But this is a big topic because we wanted to kind of get through it. The other thing I noticed, and I don't know if y'all looked on the website for this, but I noticed it. So the doors open at 9 on Friday morning to get your badge and stuff, but the floor didn't open until 2, which is
till two.
fine.
Yeah.
I get that if you want to give them time to set up. Cool. Fine. Get all that. The thing is, that's a 4-hour gap or 5-hour gap, technically.
With nothing in between.
Dang. There you go. Like, what are you supposed to do with that 5-hour gap? And I think
There
the
was
thing
no
is,
classes. There were no rooms going. There weren't even areas where they had set up where you could just go and be and hang out with your friends. It was closed
and
off.
Chris, you remember this? We went with Drew the second year for ACON. You remember we got in, doors didn't open until 10. But what
Right.
was most people doing between that like 30-minute period from like 9:30 to 10?
Bro, there were other events hosted. Like there you could have gone to the meetups. You could have gone to some of the other classes. Like they actually had interesting classes.
And also, people were sitting in the lobby just kind of hanging out and talking. That was the other thing I noticed. This was funny. So they put a couple of those like other vendors against that wall, but previously there used to be chairs there and some like benches and stuff. Those were all gone. There used to be a stool. There used to be a bench right in the middle of where, if you walked in, there's like a square bench right in the middle there, and you sat there, and people were sitting there just kind of hanging out and talking to people. None of that. None of that. Felt like it was something kind of weird. I was like, that's kind of odd. And it just didn't have that same energy behind it.
Yeah, I will say everybody did kind of congregate outside though, fortunately. they had
Yes.
enough balcony space for everybody to kind
Go
of hang
outside.
out.
Yeah, which is fair.
But that's unfortunate because you had a lot of in-building space that you could have just utilized properly. And like I know I keep comparing it to Anime Matsuri, but that's the one I think has done it the best as far as space wise. Yes, they had a lot of space to work with, but when you look at the space that they did have, I just felt like it was managed better. Not necessarily the space was better, it was managed better. Um, like having the different desks where you can go to and check in, having the different spaces where you can go and have your props checked, having the entrance to the gallery, the floor be open, but not have it to where you can't walk in anywhere else, basically. You had to walk in through one gallery door, but you can walk all over the place. Whereas this one felt like you had to funnel in and you had to funnel out. Like it was a
Yep.
snake. You had to go
yes,
in
it
one
was
way and come out the other way.
the other way.
You know, and it made you feel trapped almost. And I mean, I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know if anybody else felt trapped, but my isms, all my alphabets and isms were firing off at me the moment we walked in, and I had to literally zone in on one booth. That's why I was so glad we talked to that guy for so long because I was able to like wall off everything around me because I was gonna have a panic attack. I'm just
Yeah,
walking in there. Uh,
I felt it because I noticed you. I noticed you more from you than Chris, but I noticed you kind of had to focus on something, just kind of get your brain going. This is just awkward. This is out of hand. This is gonna feel right. To me, it doesn't usually bother me that much, only because what I do for a living, I'm used to that problem a little bit. So it kind of has. I just kind of have to lock in myself and just get used to doing it. But yeah, like you said, we sat there and talked to that guy for like 15 minutes, and it kind of cleared our brains, and we're kind of like, okay, we're back where we are. Let's get back through this.
yeah, because I
But
have
you
to like
should.
either walk around and do stuff or focus in on something. I can't just linger. If I'm just lingering, then I'm about to crash out. I gotta do one or the other.
And I think that's the other thing about it. Luckily, like I think that's the one thing we kind of figured out. I already had those couple things in my brain, so I knew what I wanted to do. But outside of that, I didn't really have a set like schedule because there was, like Chris said, Friday night when we hanged out, he said they added more stuff. I was like, wait, what? And I'm thinking about. I didn't say it out loud, but talking there, but I thought about, wait, how?
But Brandon,
And what?
you remember all throughout the week prior, you were telling me that they were still adding stuff.
They were still adding stuff, and I remember that. I'm like, wait, they added stuff that I didn't see prior. And that's the other thing with AM. They didn't AM didn't they added a couple things, but you knew most everything was set in stone. That's one thing with AM. They said even ACOM will do it. They'll set stuff in stone first before they finalize schedule. Well, they look like they kind of finalized the schedule and added things along the way without really having everything was finalized. So it didn't feel like everything was finalized. But I'm
They
gonna end
probably
off.
realized they didn't use all their rooms and time slots, and they had to change some things around. I mean, there's no way they couldn't have run at least the same things twice
Oh
or
no,
more
absolutely,
often,
absolutely.
unless you just didn't have
The
the
resources,
host power,
yeah.
you know. But like
Um.
to the point of the D&D room,
Oh,
we spoke to her.
he said Sunday. I remember what you're gonna say. Bring up this point. I want to. I'll bring up this point, please, because I know what you're gonna say.
Wait, what am I gonna say? Because I'm not even sure.
There's two things. He brings up if she had more DMs, we could run multiple games because remember
Yep.
that group came in
Okay.
there And they asked
Yeah.
about, could we wish we could run our own game. So that even kind of tells you people were kind of interested. And people kept walking in most of Sunday when I was chilling
Yeah.
with you.
But
So,
like she was running things all weekend, but
yeah.
she even said she was unprepared because she didn't know how many people or how many things she was gonna have or gonna need, you know. And to one point, it's like, okay, it's D&D, you can, prep yourself, but they didn't have resources there that she could utilize. They didn't even have a printer that she could utilize to, make things up for it. And it's like, how do you blame your host when you're not, you know, equipping them with things that could make things go better? Like if she would have just had a printer
Oh, she would have been
available,
fine. Yeah, she would have been fine.
she would have been fine. It's things like that. It's crazy.
I'm I'm gonna end on this. And ladies and gentlemen, we've probably talked for about 40 minutes. But the reason why, it was such an interesting con because it didn't feel like one I've been to.
We said it
And
before. It felt like a flea market.
it's funny, I've been to about 10. The AM and this makes 12. And it felt like disorganization and a little bit of uneasiness. But I will say this, I don't think that that's something that can really be fixed. It can be fixed overnight, but it can be fixed over time. How much time? I don't know. I hate to ask for this because it's not really necessary, but I'm asked for it anyway. Deon, I'm sorry with you for this. Actually, reverse that. I'm sorry with Chris for this. Chris, what
If
would
you're
you
gonna
create?
ask me if I'm gonna rate this anime, this show, this
Convention.
craptastic of a convention, it's gonna get a 2.
All right. I knew that. I did know that. I knew that. Okay. And you already kind of explained why, but give me one sentence. Why?
Lackluster.
That's one word. All right. That's fair enough. Deon, I know Chris said he could, if you were to ask Murray, he's going to give it 2. What would you give this?
Honestly, shout out to Nine Rule, the DM, a couple of the other vendors, a couple of the artists that we actually got to talk to and make a somewhat personal connection with. If it
Even,
was not for them,
yeah.
if it was not for them, this it would be pretty bad. But thanks to them, that connection, that meeting people, being able to um network in a way. We got a couple of D&D people. We got a couple of con people. I don't know if you guys know, but we got a couple people, less people than before. But I'm gonna get them like a 4.5.
Okay. Okay. This is tough for me. It's funny because everything you both said, I agree with.
Sorry, I'm gonna give him a 5.5 because I did find the one thing that I've been looking for at every other convention I went
Which
to,
I
and I have not been able to find it. And I was
just,
able to find it here for a decent. I mean, it was a horrible price, but it was decent. I'm not even gonna say the price, but
I told
yeah,
Chris,
shout
I
out
told
to
Chris,
that.
I told Chris before we came on air, so you already knew
I'm
about that.
glad you found what you was looking for. So I'm sure at this next time you'll have a bit more of an authentic setup.
Yeah, bro, you remember how long I went looking for this thing at AM? I'm not gonna say what it is or anything like that, but you remember how long I went? Like we went to 17 different stalls 17 times at AM. Just to find it.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Can I give this a 6? so just a little bit higher than you, Deon. Only because, like you said, the people, some of the vendors we met, I got to be one of my favorite VTubers. I'm cool with that. Outside of that, everything else was kind of in a bubble bad. It it felt disorganized. It felt out of place. It didn't have any much of a really good organization. But I will say this. Do I blame the people I want to meet? No. It just felt like they could handle things better and it should be handled better. That's the only reason I think it's not going to get better to me. But like I say, weebcon is always kind of. I think I remember in the past weebcon always been about the VTuber stuff. Even it's funny they're going to. I looked this up too, which I thought was interesting because Oscar, who walks around with Sojo, he's going to be heading to DreamCon in May, and I looked at Level Up in Las Vegas. There's a bunch of YouTubers there, so it's not surprising. But I think that's going to be the start being that norm of if you're not a huge anime fan, they're going to try to get you other things, YouTubers, gaming, all that kind of stuff. The thing is, the gaming side usually gets kind of thrown up the bus because gaming is not the biggest thing. Gaming is not the way to get people in very often. But the second one is, the first one is very easily. But we'll see where it goes. Yeah, would I go back? Yes. After like maybe next year when we do something, we're going to go to the year after when I go back. Absolutely. But it would take some time.
Oh, yeah,
it would take a year to see how the changes would change. Ultimately,
I will say this though: the price was worth it.
Oh yeah, the price is not $80 is not like $80 is better than spending to go like AX. That's the other side.
As
Like
much as I griped on it, it was only $80 for 3 days.
yeah, like I think
At least it was in Dallas, because I would have hated to travel for that.
That part too.
For,
We didn't
yeah,
have to
that part
travel
too.
too far for.
We
I
didn't
think
have
I
to-
had the longest travel.
Yes, you did. We had the shortest. We had like 20 minutes.
No, you
coming
had the
from
shortest. Brandon,
Oklahoma.
you had the shortest.
Fred, both of y'all. I forgot both of y'all go far. But yeah, I think that's the other thing. The price was there. I think for even when we went to Acon was like 120, right? When we went, or I paid like 71 a year. But when I think when Chris paid about 100 or so for it. So it's still worth it. But I think that there's more quantity over quality. Or I said it right? No, quality over quantity. There we go. I said it backwards. Was the big thing with Acon, but here it's more. There's not a lot of quantity, and the quality is not that strong. So that's kind of the balance. So let me know what y'all think in the comments. We talked about it for a good bit. If you did go here in town, just want to know what y'all thought about it. This is our first year going, so I know people have gone in the past. I know it's been 5 years. I get all that. So I get it's still building a history. It's still young. It can change. But how much? We don't know. We're gonna do this. We're gonna skip the charts tonight. We're doing both next week. We're gonna do the beginning at the end and 0x. Get both stuff. You have a long chat to listen to at the beginning. That chat's gonna be a good amount of stuff you can hear about. But I think we leave the chart for next week because we can see the comparisons for both of those as of next week. But let's get into the beginning after the end because this episode for the beginning after the end was kind of not bad, but odd. I think it had a little to be desired there. I feel like this episode kind of gives us more backstory about something, but doesn't really continue on what they wanted to do for episode 3. But in a second, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we get going. Gentlemen, you ready?
No.
Yes, sir.
No, I am ready.
In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Episode 3, Meeting the King. By the way, Chris, you're supposed to assume this is right after he fell off the cliff, right?
Yeah, but how he survived falling off the cliff, they don't show.
That's the thing I thought about. Okay, so I'm not the only person to think about that. That was like, wait, is this supposed to be like something real or something? Like, I didn't get this.
I would say I do like this this theme song.
Say,
He said he likes the theme song,
oh yeah, the song is actually really good.
and
I
it's a
will give
good
the credit.
thing.
The song and the intro are like really
This
interesting. It feels epic.
sound like something me and Jeff could cover.
Yeah.
So are they okay? So that makes some sense, but not really.
Is it just me, or does that character actually look pretty dope?
The dragon character?
Yeah, it looks dope.
It looks like it's well presented and well drawn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I. The thing about this part here, from this point on, it kind of feels like they're giving us a dump of information. But the thing was, when I first watched this, I'm like, he says his parents are alive. They're moved on. They're not worried about him. I'm like, wait, so how do you end up in a place that's so far outside the lands of this forest? And two, what happened between the time he fell and what's like this doesn't feel like
Man,
him.
that is a good point. Now, that's what I was thinking. But I do feel like from the time when I first watched this episode to now, they've upgraded the graphics a little bit.
Yeah, they did. You can tell they upgraded something.
Yeah, I might have to go back and watch the end of the second episode again.
Well, the end of the second episode, he just falls off the
Maybe there
cliff.
was an
He throws
after
the guy
credit
off the
scene.
cliff with
I
him.
mean, that's the flashback right there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, was there no after credit scene? Because I didn't watch the credits of the last.
You know, that I did not watch.
There was. I don't think there was. If I remember correctly, I don't think there was. If there is, I skip the credits, but I don't think they might mention the credit scene.
The flick is crazy.
Hmm. Oh. Going back to when he was a king. Okay. All right. You're giving some of that backstory.
Mm.
Even if you forgo the graphics, this is a good storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is giving you that break into what I say, the story about the king finding his heart.
Yep.
Hmm.
That episode.
And I think this is going for 24 episodes too. So
Yeah, it is. So it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a slow burn. It's gonna be a slow burn.
A little slow burn. Are we looking at a jobless reincarnation? Reincarnation of jobless.
I think it's a little early to tell at the moment. Because in Jobless, it doesn't. Even though he talks about his old life, we never get this many flashbacks about his old
No,
life.
you never see his old life.
We did in the first season. A few
Oh
times.
well.
Got to see
We
his
actually did.
chunky
He's
show.
right. He's right. We did because we get to see. We get to see his body as a person.
You know
We
what?
get to
I'm
see-
thinking of Slime.
Yes, slime. We don't get a lot of that in the first season. Jobless, we do.
Yeah, slime. We get
Actually.
none. We get the first episode. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, jobless, we don't.
Mm.
Control of a key, basically. She evolves into this like dragon thing, horse thing.
Now she looks somewhat smaller than what she did in her previous form.
A lot smaller.
Yeah, but she also longer.
Yes, she is.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's so good. She dies for her troubles and sacrifice. You literally walked into a trap. That was kind of funny.
After you were already talking about you don't think they killed him. Yeah, two things. Wasn't his shirt ripped on the sleeves?
It was.
And then how did he get a bag?
I don't know. That maybe just materialized. Um, I'm not gonna go through this beat by beat just because there's a lot here. But I'm start off with Chris for this. Chris, what was your biggest takeaway from this episode?
So like I think I mentioned it in between the show. Like I feel like they're trying to go back and update episodes as they go. Maybe from the fan backlash, maybe, but I don't know. But I do see improvements now. But to
Hmm.
me, I am totally fine with the storytelling that they gave us this episode. Like gave us a minute to kind of slow down and kind of understand what our character is, and then we meet somebody who already knows him, which
Yes.
is which is which gives a different perspective to the show. Rather than I can't think of any isekai that's done that. Maybe except for two, but for the most part, for a person to come to know somebody from their past life into this life, that is a nice take I like to see, which does give it a nice little twang, I should say.
Okay. Okay. Deon, what was your biggest takeaway from this episode? Because
The biggest takeaway?
hmm,
You got a pet dragon egg
yeah, yeah.
and some new tattoos. Nah, man. Honestly, there's a lot of inconsistencies in this anime. Like real inconsistencies. Like plot hole after plot hole after non-aligning animation points. Like Chris pointed out, the sleeves were ripped off and tattoos were made. And all of a sudden, it's a whole shirt. He has no tattoos and he has a bag. We never see what happened to him after he falls off the cliff. His reaction to the dragon is type of monster thing was to jump spry and try to attack, but then the next second he's too hurt to even walk. Like there's a lot going on. It's like, bruh, what is happening here? But the story is kind of compelling enough to make you want to keep watching it.
I agree with you both on that. I think the other thing I really noticed, at least we're getting his backstory. His backstory is kind of interesting. So we're seeing him slowly break his man, or not hate, like hate and rage, more getting to more gentle and joyful kind of side to him and experiencing life. It continues, so I can see where it's going. But I think it's going to be an interesting one to try to follow and kind of get a gauge on that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I
Chris,
don't want to see him as a kid too much longer.
that's the other thing. The kid side's going to get kind of boring if you keep it longer because now he's going to get too powerful pretty quickly.
Well, and that's another thing. I want to know how much time is gonna pass because by the time he get home, if he got a baby sister, like bruh, mine wasn't even that big yet. So you tell me he been missing for 9 months and nobody thought to send a search party for him?
No,
Um,
the fact that she was like, yeah, they went on and continued their journey days ago. What?
yeah, that was the line that kind of like, wait. So he fell off the cliff.
They went and
They
they want to
they tried.
continue their journey. Not they're still out looking for you. Not it's only been a few days.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, he dead. We don't need to see his body.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what? And then what journey are you continuing? Because the whole journey was for him.
To get stronger.
Yep.
There you go.
For them to bring him to a teacher.
Get up. Get up episode 3 of To Be Hero X. We'll get that in a second. I'm gonna start off with Chris for this. Chris, what would you rate episode 3 of the beginning after the end for a rating?
I'm going to give this one a 6.4, bro.
Okay.
Like kind of like Deon said, the story is compelling, but I mean, you gotta get the you got. I mean, we are in the age where people catch the inconsistencies, especially in what's supposed to be a show that's being compared to Solo Leveling. Like, come on, let's not have these rookie mistakes.
Deon,
What about?
what would you?
I'm not. Well, okay, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were we gonna say?
No, go
I
ahead,
was
bro.
gonna, I was gonna say, Dion. I mean, Brandon. Why don't you give us your score next? What is your take on this?
I okay. I'll say this. I like Jobless and Sonic better. The only thing about the two that I think this does better is the backstory for the main character. The backstory for the main character is a lot more fleshed out. We just see more of his human side. We see more why he's the way he was. But it feels like we're gonna get that a lot until he kind of changes his mindset. Even he says, "Have I changed my mindset?" If that's the case, why? I would have to give this like a 5.5. Wasn't super strong, but wasn't bad. I think the inconsistencies are gonna have to be filled in. If they're not filled in eventually, there's something wrong. But I can give them a pass since the only for now. If so inconsistent by episode 4, 5, or 6, then something's wrong.
Interesting. Now, what would you say, D?
Did you get your rating, B?
I did 5.5.
Okay. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna give it a 5 flush. Y'all know I'm real big on consistency.
Oh yeah.
Real
yeah.
big on consistency and just plot consistency at that. This story is just jumping all over the place. And yeah, we get backstories, but it's not a consistent backstory.
Nope.
It's still all over the place. We're getting different points. It's like we're getting a piece of the backstory to align with what's happening in the main story. But the main story is so all over the place that it just doesn't make sense. Like in this episode, he's a kid. He's really a kid in this episode. There's nothing about this episode that says he is the king inside of the kid. The last episode, the episode before that, he was straight king.
Hmm.
Now all of a sudden we meet this weird monster looking thing. I mean, we find out it's a full-on dragon, but and he's like the biggest baby. We don't see no strategy. We don't see no thoughts. We don't see nothing from him as a person. We see a little bit of his softening side, which I get is, the whole point of the story, but it's not consistently portrayed enough for me. I'm not saying that we don't need to see it and we don't want it. I just want it to be consistent. And right now, it just seems like they're just rolling dice, and whatever it lands on, that's what the episode is going to be about. But, I mean, it's not 100% bad though. It's just that whole Chris. I'm mad you pointed that out because I seen that the first time I watched it. The shirt being ripped in the bag, but it's not the first time either. In the beginning, his shirt was fine.
Yeah.
That's
Then
what I'm
a little
talking
later,
about.
his shirt had little tiny tears in it.
Because he
And
trained,
then later,
he's
the shirt was
yeah.
fine again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it was dirty. And then she
Yep.
ripped the sleeves off. It was just, bro, yo, you can't even draw the character consistently. How is his mentality supposed to be consistent?
I'm gonna say this. This is one of the most hyped shows from this season so far, and I don't think it's living up to that hype just because the way people are talking about stuff. Let's roll into the other hype show of this season, and it's To Be a Hero Next. in this episode, I didn't watch. I heard about it. Didn't watch it. Now this one has a lot of plot holes in it. We're about to get another one from this episode. It's gonna be interesting because we get a tease of something that I don't think I'm gonna like because we already saw this person not be around much anymore. But we'll get into it in a second. I will say 3, 2, 1, then we get going. Chris,
Let's go.
right? And let's go. Episode 3, The Ever Standing Hero.
Now I ain't watching this episode blind.
So am I.
Same
did not
here.
watch this. I did not watch this. Who is this? Wait, a bomb. A bomb to what? Oh,
Multiple bombs.
and that's how we're open. Okay. All right. All right. Don't give us
Like, are we finally getting to the actual story?
I think kind of, but it's also going to be kind of.
Yes, here we are, episode 3, and I don't even know who that is.
Nope. Another. I think probably
That's
another.
it.
I actually listened to this whole song. I like the whole song of this is actually really good. Very simple, but a good song. Think about this. The last thing we saw from last episode was him with Moon. Moon leaves, and they say that he's about to do that tournament for the top 10.
I mean, I get that, but I'm just ready for them to introduce all these other characters.
Yep.
And this is another show.
I'm guessing Hero X is the #1 hero right now.
Yeah.
And all these other heroes are the rank 10 heroes that we see.
Yeah.
And if they're going by that, then that's almost exactly like the boys.
Yeah.
Almost.
The Ever Standing Hero.
That's what they almost, yeah.
So he would be Starlight, or whatever her name was.
Oh, he would be Homelander in a sense, but in a good way.
No. He
No,
would
no.
be the country girl.
Oh, he'd be
Yeah.
Starlight. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You said that right. Yeah, he is that Starlight kind of character. By the way,
Yep.
why did it say
yes.
Furman?
Oh,
He meant Furman. Okay. I was like, wait, that didn't sound right the way they said that the first time. Like, but that's digressing.
But at least now they might be getting to answer my question.
Yeah.
Who is
Hero X.
Old timey like cartoon. Old timey like cartoon. I like the lore style.
They did it for Moon too. I mean, not like this, but that
Something
flashback
similar.
cartoony.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Show how they got their powers.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah,
What?
tell me that's not out of a scene out of the boys, bro.
That's not the
Like
boys.
100%, bro.
That's not the boys.
No,
Y'all know
that is
you
a
can't.
scene straight out the boys, bro.
Or even
Yeah.
Invincible.
Invincible. Jessica
Man,
Jones is the other one I thought of. And Luke, what's it? The Luke Cage dude from the black dude from that show. That's basically what that is. I'm just like
I mean, yeah, but like the scene though itself,
is the
the way
boys.
they
Yeah.
did it is that's from the
The
boys.
accidental explode. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Why does he look like Strider all of a sudden? That was not the thing I looked.
Because of the scars.
So Nice is
And
ranking 15. Okay.
yep, yeah. So he's 5 away from top 10.
Now the Starlight Theory sits a little bit more firm down. Not to mention the color of his costume.
Yeah, the colors gets away.
Right.
Who would be crazy enough to get down there to try to find her? It's like playing.
Those heroes.
That's a
Those
needle in a
heroes.
hay. That's a needle in a haystack at that point. So that was the girl with the bombs. Okay, we get it now. Is that a printing press? Like a comic book.
Yeah, that's a real villain. Oh, the cool.
Smart, man.
Wait. You said the Hero Association? Why does it remind me of My Hero Academia at that point?
Because that's what they call the Hero Association in My Hero Academia.
See?
So there's also amateurs in this world. Really, you tried that? Come on now. Come on now. That was not
Right back into the hole.
Right.
Yep. This looks like have something like a video game.
Borderlands.
Yeah.
Looks like Jinx's Den from Arcane.
Oh.
Or Tiny Tina from Borderlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the printing press. There's the. Oh, ticking time bomb. Anybody knows that?
Ooh.
Boom.
And they had to change the animation style for that.
Move. Move. Yep. Here we go.
Ah, that's ugly.
Whoa. Oh.
Now this is really the boys.
Yep.
Why does she have like Dead Mount Dead what's the video game with the horror characters? The one with the 4v1. He reminds me of that.
This scene is not adding up right now.
What's not?
I'll keep it to after this episode.
Where did Nice come from?
He was up under there, directly under there.
Wait, Wolf Girl was the little. Oh
Makes sense.
my!
She was.
She wanted to put the scarf on him
But the
herself.
guy did it. That's right. And the yarn, she's been knitting.
Yeah. Uh, and she's your sidekick in essence. She's the syndrome from motherfucking Incredibles.
Yeah, that Spacey syndrome. Yeah. So was she obsessed?
Yes, she was obsessed with her
Not necessarily,
hero.
not necessarily
She had hero
the
syndrome, bro.
obsession of the hero, but I mean the person that saved her life.
Yeah, the person that saved her life wasn't the image that everybody else had.
Yeah, they were technically two different people. Then you got the hero Furman, and then you got the person that saved her life.
That's real. That's actually some real deep shit.
Yeah.
More trust he has, the stronger he is.
Hmm.
All right.
She trying to get his trust up too, though, and his
Yeah.
abilities to get stronger.
Yep. Nice transfer.
He he just jumped 5 levels. This is the part I thought was weird.
Dang, bro.
But it was so this kind of got to the point where you got to get like, wait, so he always had to be that.
Bro, if this isn't The Boys, I don't know what is. Like, bro, like, honestly, bro, Homelander is just in America and they're in Japan or South Korea.
Yeah, it said The Boys was crazy murder, kill from every second, every
That
episode.
is the only difference between this show and The Boys.
Correct.
The characters kind of have like the similar of those weird quirks type of.
Yeah, but we ain't seen the crazies yet, so I can't rule that out yet.
Yeah.
Oh. You are just be yourself. Okay. Huh.
You start to see a pattern now, ain't you?
What?
Nigga, just leave. Sorry. Like,
That's the twist I don't really appreciate. Because
Bro,
now,
like, he's the Joker.
yes, he's the Joker. He's
I
basically the
forgot I
Joker.
wasn't muted.
I'm gonna do this. Chris, what do you think about this episode? Because right now, we're getting the kind of thing where they're replaying things. And now this new villain is trying to break Nice down and figure out who he is.
Bro, I am still curious on who these other heroes are. I mean, like, I understand this is gonna be a slow burn with 24 episodes, but I mean, man, like they're trying to make this guy who's soft as heck go up against some ruthless stuff. Like, I don't know if I'm in a therapy session or am I just getting regular character development? Like, I really don't know the direction that this show is going right now. Because so many other tropes that they're going are coming from a lot of other TV shows. And I mean, we said My Hero Academia, we said The Boys, and then the last minute just reminded me of freaking DC. So I mean, like, I really want to know what direction are they trying to go.
Deon, what do you think about this episode? Do you kind of go with Chris on this, or do you have another take?
I think it's like a combination of the most iconic superhero shows made into something that can wreck your brain. Without wrecking your brain, still keeping that Disney superhero aspect or the DC superhero aspect, and kind of molding that with something like The Boys or Invincible or one of those side sketch type of
Stories.
superhero combos. Yeah, it's like Smallville meets The Boys. But it's crazy to see how into the show you can get without it being that good. It's getting good. But like you said, I love consistency. And there's still some things that are just like, oh, well, why would he do that? Why is this happening? What is that? I don't know if that's more on me personally or on the show. So I can't, you know, bad that. But things like saying nice, survive an explosion that he's 0.2 feet away, and they just kind of skip over that fact and then be able to hold up a statue and he's not even touched. Like we don't know this person's powers. We don't know anything about like we gotten backstories on everybody else's powers and what they can do. We haven't even got our main characters.
Like, and he inherited those powers.
Yeah. And they're changing. Clearly, we just see him get super strong now. He can hold up statues now. But where everybody else is, we're kind of like locked in and based off of what people wanted them to be. Like Furman, you just see he couldn't even bend down; he had to stand firm. So what is Nice's little glitch? Moon. She had to be next to Nice. Like, but we're not seeing consistency there. I don't know, man.
I agree with everything else said. I think the big thing too, if you're gonna rope Moon back into this, now is an issue because Moon is technically supposed to be dead. So what are we doing? How are we explaining that? All that kind of stuff. I'll go to give my rating now before I ask both of y'all. This gets like a 4.5 for me. I like the story, I like where it's going, but I think it's still kind of missing things here and there. I don't think it's too strong. I don't think it's like super great and strong, but I think it's gonna get there. It's gonna take that slow burn again, like with the beginning after the end. It's gonna be super slow. Pardon the pun. I don't know. We'll see where this goes because I want to be more heroes, but I don't think we're getting a lot right away. We're gonna get built up with Nice real quick, like quickly, and then we'll start seeing other heroes and things. But Deon, what do you think? What would you rate this episode?
I'm gonna give it a 5.
Okay.
4.9, 5.0. The same thing is with the beginning after the end. Where is this going?
Yep.
And how are you getting us there?
Yeah. Big thing.
I'm okay with roller coaster rides. I am. They can be fun. You have your up moments, your down moments, but they usually go up and down. This is like zigzag, in and out, round in circles, loop de loop swirls. Like, what? Like, cause on one thing, like, even the ending when you have Moon. Why does she look like Moon if she was on a deserted desert island with her hair out and chilling?
And I'm pretty sure she probably would have gotten rid of that costume or left it there.
She didn't even have it on when she left out. She had nothing.
Normal clothes.
She had a suitcase, but she was in beach clothes. Her hair wasn't like that. So did this dude really dress her up as Moon? And if that's the case, he could have dressed up any girl as Moon. And you got this dude beating against the window. We know you strong now. Why don't you just leave? Like you over here panicking at a blimp. What type of intelligence do you have, bro? I don't know, man. I really need characters in anime to get smart.
Chris, what would you give this episode for a rating?
I'm gonna give it a 5.3.
Okay.
Only because, like, I feel like I can see where they're trying to go, but it's still coming off as really twisted. Like, you have so many different hero tropes going in between everything, looping around. Like, it really starts to get annoying because you don't have that direction. Like, I mean, you want to be able to follow it because it seems like they're on to something, but it's like at the end of the day, I can't even say that I'm watching a regular cartoon show of Batman and Robin. Like, it's just like, come on, man. Like, let's get with the program here.
Okay.
Uh, Another thing to speak to the inconsistencies. Can we at least draw the characters the same way?
I noticed that too, but I didn't really.
Like just one main one, because it's been a lot. But Furman, during the backstories and all this other stuff, he's this chocolate John Henry looking guy. The moment we get up on him, he looks like Michael Jackson in the Beat It video. Like,
Yeah.
Like, is this Revitalago? Like my man, like Uncle Ruckus would say, or is this what's going on, man? Where's consistency? Like, I don't know.
I think the big thing, both these shows are good. Both these shows are interesting. They have interesting plot points, but there's a lot of inconsistency between both. Yeah, I think that's going to be something. And by the way, these were two shows that were really hyped up by the community, and now they're kind of in that weird space of they're good, but there's weird plot holes now, and where are those plot holes going to end up? We'll continue on this journey. Will be episode 4 of To Being After the End, and episode 4 of To Be Hero X. Next week, we'll see where they go. Both these shows are going to be 24 episodes, so they're going to be slow burns for a while.
Will we continue into next season? Now that is a question.
That's the problem. If we don't get a good pickup of a story by the time we get to 8, 9, 10, then something's wrong. Of both these shows, but other than that, I don't think that's going to happen for a while. But I do thank you for watching. Hope you did enjoy. We'll be back next week with both those episodes. Also, we're going to do both the charts from this charts from this week and charts from next week as well. So you have that. I hope you enjoyed the long recap talk we did because we needed to do it, and it's something we don't want to talk about. But I do thank Deon and Chris for joining me. I do thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope for next time. See you.
Peace.
Peace.